Hello everyone. So our topic for today is chapter number 3, Exogenetic Process Part 1. Now earlier we have done part 2, so you know what do you mean by exogenetic process, right? So today we are going to see the part 1. Many landforms are formed due to internal movements. Many processes occurring on the Earth's surface also led to the formation or degradation of landforms continuously. Right now, many landforms take place. Why students? Because जो अंदर movement होता है ना, because of internal movement taking place, that is the reason why landforms takes place. Okay, now many process occurs on the earth surface. Okay, जो earth surface है उसके अंदर भी ऐसे बहुत सारे movements they take place, and that is the reason why there is formation or degradation of landforms. In this session, we will be studying the exogenetic, which that is external process and the landforms by them. Okay, तो आज हम लोग क्या पढ़ेंगे? हम लोग exogenetic process पढ़ेंगे and the landforms which is formed because of them. External process occurs because of the forces working on the earth's surface. Okay, now why does external process कैसे वो occur होता है? तो जो अपना earth surface है, okay, the process, okay, the forces which are working on the external surface of the earth, तो जो surface है earth का उसके ऊपर जो जो forces take place हो रहे हैं, that is the reason why external process takes place. They are mainly solar energy, gravitational force, and kinetic energy associated with the moving objects on the earth's surface, right? हम लोग ने ऊपर देखा that which all forces are taking place, because of them external process takes place. So what all are the forces? It can be solar energy, it can be gravitational force, or it can be kinetic energy. Okay, so because of all of these forces, the changes which are taking place on the earth's surface leads to external process. Okay, now let us come to the next page, or you can see this part, that can you tell, see the given pictures, you can see the given pictures, observe the physical appearance of the rocks in the each picture. Okay, so each picture में आप rock का appearance देखो, उसका structure देखो. You can see that rocks are broken, fractured, and have holes in them. In a picture, you can also see that the statue has been deformed. Why are the rocks in such a condition? Why are the rocks in such a condition? Think and think about them and briefly tell the reason you can think of. So according to you, why do you think that rocks are in such situations? Think according to you and let them know. Discuss the reason. Check with teachers if your reasons are relevant. Okay. Now, do you know landforms formed on the Earth's surface as a result of internal movements are called primary and secondary landform. Okay, so the landforms which occurs because of internal movements, okay, जो अंदर movements होते हैं उनके वजह से जो landforms form होते हैं उनको क्या बोलते हैं हम? Primary and secondary landform. For example, there are continents, mountains, plateaus, plains, and etc. Because of the external processes like weathering, erosion, transportation, and deposition, the primary and the secondary landform give way to the tertiary landforms. For example, valleys, sand, dunes, delta, U-shaped valleys, etc. ओके, सो ये जो एक्सटर्नल प्रोसेसेस है, ओके, जैसे वेदरिंग है, वेदरिंग वी विल बी वी विल बी सीइंग व्हाट डज इट मीन्स इन द अभी का चैप्टर. जस्ट आज के चैप्टर में हम लोग देखेंगे what does weathering mean. So because of all of these external process, there are formation of landforms. Okay, it can be in the form of valleys, sand dunes, delta, U-shaped valley, etc. Now let us come to the next page. Geographical explanation. Breaking or weakening of rocks is a natural phenomena. Okay, that rock break होता है या उसके अंदर cracks आते हैं या rock weak हो जाता है. All of these are natural processes. It is called weathering. Just now I said that we will be learning weathering in today's chapter. So breaking of rocks into or weakening of rocks or having cracks in the rock is called as weathering. Weathering can be of three types. Okay, it can be of three types. First is mechanical, that is physical weathering. सेकेंड इज़ केमिकल वेदरिंग के जो केमिकल्स के थ्रू या केमिकल रिएक्शंस के थ्रू जो फॉर्म्स होते हैं दैट आर कॉल्ड केमिकल वेदरिंग. फिजिकल वेदरिंग इज़ बेसिकली जो फिजिकल अपीयरेंस या वैसा कुछ होगा, लेट अस सी. एंड biological weathering. Okay, in arid climates mechanical weathering is dominant. Okay, now what do you mean by arid climate, students? Where there is less or no rainfall. Okay, जहाँ पे थोड़ा या ज़रा भी बारिश नहीं होता है, ऐसे places को बोलते हैं arid. So in arid climates mechanical weathering takes place, while in humid climates, what do you mean by humid climate, students? Humid मतलब क्या? लार्ज नंबर ऑफ वाटर वेपर. ओके, तो जहाँ पे वाटर वेपर ज़्यादा होता है ऐसे प्लेसेस को बोलते हैं ह्यूमिड वेदर. तो वहाँ पे केमिकल वेदरिंग होने का चांस ज़्यादा रहता है. हाँ, एंड बायोलॉजिकल वेदरिंग अकर्स बिकॉज ऑफ लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म. दैट बिकॉज ऑफ लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म बायोलॉजिकल वेदरिंग टेक्स प्लेस. नाउ वी विल लर्न अबाउट मैकेनिकल वेदरिंग. हम लोग ने ऊपर देखा मैकेनिकल वेदरिंग कहाँ पे डोमिनेंट है, in arid climates. Now let us see. Before that, let us try this. Take an onion. You have to take an onion, cut it from the middle part. Okay, now observe the cut parts properly. Try to remove each skin layer of this part. Now slowly and steadily try removing each layers of this onion. What do you see? You have to notice and let me know what do you see in those पार्ट्स. ओके, वो ऑनियन के पार्ट में आप क्या देखते हो? कमिंग टू द नेक्स्ट पेज, you will notice that just as we can remove each and every outer layer of the onion, similarly in nature rock undergoes such a process. ओके, सो नाउ एज यू रिमूव ऑनियन का एक एक पार्ट, एक एक छिलका जो हम लोग बोलते हैं, एक एक लेयर, एंड यू विल रिमूव दैट, यू विल सी such movements, such layers. In similar way, the rocks go through all of these process. Okay, rocks का भी एक एक layer निकलता जाता है. The exposed part of the rock heats more while the inner part is comparatively cooler. Fine, कि अगर एक बड़ा सा रॉक है, उसके ऊपर रॉक्स है, उसके ऊपर रॉक्स है, तो द पार्ट ऑफ रॉक विच इज़ एक्सपोज्ड मोर टू द सनलाइट, के जो सनलाइट से ज़्यादा एक्सपोज्ड है, ओके, वो पार्ट हीट जल्दी होता है, बराबर ना, क्योंकि वो एक्सपोज्ड है सनलाइट से. वाइल एज द अनदर पार्ट विच इज़ इनसाइड इट, ओके, जो अंदर का पार्ट है जहाँ पे इतना धूप नहीं आ रहा है, वेर इन द सनलाइट इज़ नॉट दैट रीचेबल, दैट पार्ट इज़ कंपैरेटिवली cooler. As a result, the outer layer of the rocks fall apart from the main rock, and this is called exfoliation of the rock. Okay, so जो ऊपर का part होता है, since it is hot and at particular time, after particular time it gets wear out. Okay, कि वो निकल जाता है, and that is called as exfoliation. Exfoliation क्या बोलते हैं स्टूडेंट? वी गर्ल्स यूजुअली डू स्किन केयर रूटीन, राइट? हम हमारी स्किन केयर रूटीन करते हैं तो हम क्या लगाते हैं? स्क्रब लगाते हैं स्किन पे. वाई? सो दैट इट एक्सफोलिएट्स द डर्ट पार्टिकल. मतलब क्या? इट रिमूव्स द डर्ट पार्टिकल ऑफ द बॉडी. सी फिगर 3.2. ओके, सी दैट इज़ हाउ एक्सफोलिएशन टेक्स प्लेस. वहाँ पे इफ़ यू कैन सी, तो ऊपर का जो लेयर है येलो दैट हैज़ बीन रिमूव्ड आउट. Mechanical weathering mainly occurs because of following reasons. Okay, that mechanical weathering के there are few reasons, out of which the first is temperature. The temperature, because of temperature also mechanical reactions or mechanical weathering takes place. जो मैकेनिकल हम लोग ने पहले देखा, मैकेनिकल इज़ फिजिकल, राइट? The second is frost. Now what do you mean by frost, students? Frost is the small water droplets which are occurred on the ground. Why? Because the temperature is below the freezing point. कि freezing point के below जब temperature हो जाता है ना, तो there are small water droplets formed on the ground. That is called as frost. Crystal growth. Okay, because of crystal growth also mechanical weathering takes place. Release of pressure, कि जब pressure ज़्यादा दिया जाता है तो वो जब pressure release होता है, तब भी mechanical weathering take place and because of water. Now we will see all of these reasons in depth. First one was temperature. The minerals in the rocks expand because of heat and contract when temperature decreases. Okay, कि जो minerals होता है ना rock के अंदर it gets expand, कि वो stretch होता है. कब stretch होता है? जब उसके ऊपर heat पड़ता है, जब धूप पड़ता है. Because of heat the minerals get expand and they get contrast when temperature decreases, and जब वो cool होता है तो वो आप contrast हो जाता है. Due to such continuous contracting and expanding, tension develops in the rock particles. ओके, तो ये जब दिन में ये एक्सपांड होता है, फिर रात में जब टेम्परेचर कम होता है तो ये वापस कॉन्ट्रास्ट होता है. तो जो एक्सपांड एंड कॉन्ट्रास्ट होता रहता है उसके वजह से टेंशन फॉर्म होता है ना. व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय टेंशन स्टूडेंट्स? टेंशन इज क्या बोलते हैं? एक्सपांड होना. स्ट्रेच बोलते हैं ना हम, जिनको स्ट्रेच उसको बोलते हैं टेंशन. ओके, so tension develops in the rock particles. Each mineral reacts differently to the temperature. Some minerals expand more while others do not expand as much. Okay, तो हर एक mineral का reaction अलग होता है. Some expands more, some expands less. Consequently, the tension formed in the rock also increases and decreases. कि जो उसके वजह से stretch form हुआ है, tension form हुआ है, वो भी comparatively increase या decrease होता रहता है. As a result, cracks develop in the rocks and they break. Okay, तो ये expand होता है, ये वापस cool down होता है, वापस expand होता है, वापस contrast होता है. So because of this continuous expansion and contraction, there are cracks which are being developed in the rocks. के rocks के बीच में cracks develop होता है, and once crack starts developing, एक point के बाद वो rock break हो जाता है. In areas where the diurnal range of temperature is higher, weathering of this type is common in hot desert. What do you mean by diurnal range? Diurnal range is daytime वाला range. Okay, so in areas where temperature is higher, जब daytime में temperature high होता है, weathering of such type takes place. Frost. What do you mean by frost? मैंने पहले ही बोला, जो water droplets which are formed on the ground because of temperature falling below freezing point. You know that the volume of the water increases when it freezes. बराबर ना, हम लोग कितना सा पानी डालते हैं फ्रीज़र में, हाँ, और उसका आइस कैसा बनता है. सो द वॉल्यूम एक्सपांड्स, तो उसका वॉल्यूम है वो बढ़ता है. In areas where the temperature drops below 0 degrees Celsius for quite some time, the water accumulates in the cracks and crevices in the rock freezes. Now what do you mean by that? देखो कि जब टेम्परेचर 0 डिग्री सेल्सियस के नीचे आ जाता है ना, सो द वाटर अक्यूमुलेटेड इन द क्रैक्स एंड क्रीवेसेस इन द रॉक्स फ्रीजेस. क्रीवेसेस इज ऑल्सो बेसिकली अ कट टाइप. ओके, कट जो होता है ना रॉक में, उसको बोलते हैं क्रीवेसेस. तो जब टेम्परेचर 0 डिग्री पे चला जाता है ना, तो जो रॉक के अंदर पानी हो जाता है ना, दैट गेट्स फ्रीजेस. ओके, इट्स वॉल्यूम इंक्रीजेस. हम लोग ने अभी देखा जब पानी फ्रीज होता है तो उसका वॉल्यूम बढ़ता है. ओके, तो यहाँ पे जो रॉक के अंदर जो पानी है ना, उसका वॉल्यूम बढ़ता है. दिस लीड्स टू टेंशन इन द रॉक एंड दे शैटर. ओके, तो वापस जब वो बड़ा एक्सपांड हुआ, जब भी एक्सपांड होता है तो टेंशन फॉर्म होता है. टेंशन फॉर्म होने के वजह से रॉक्स ब्रेक डाउन. You can see figure 3.1c, okay, to get a clear idea. Coming to crystal growth. Now what do you mean by crystal growth? In rocky coast, waves hit the sea cliff. The water is alkaline. Some water droplets hit the crack in the rocks. Okay, कि जो rocky areas होते हैं उसमें क्या होता है, बीच साइड पे जो होते हैं तो वहाँ पे waves आती है, एंड वहाँ पे जो rocks होते हैं उनको waves hit करती है. तो there is constant hit of water on the rock. The water is alkaline. Now water alkaline है बराबर. Some water droplets hit the cracks in the rocks. Okay, तो आधे आधे waves, ये waves के जो water droplets होते हैं वो rock को hit करते हैं, पर कोई कोई जो rock के अंदर crack है ना उनको hit करता है. In this alkaline water, the soluble material in the rocks get dissolved. Okay, कि अभी alkaline water है, water जो sea का water है वो alkaline है बराबर. तो जो उसके अंदर के जो soluble materials है ना जो mix हो जाते हैं वो rock के साथ rock के अंदर dissolve हो जाते हैं. Now this leads to the formation of small holes in the rock. Why? Because the water is alkaline. Okay, the minerals get soluble inside the rock and that leads to small formation of holes. This is the effect of solution. Okay, alkaline water gets stored in this hole. अभी जो alkaline water है, जो waves का water है, वो ये rock के अंदर store हो जाता है. Because of heat, this water turns into water vapor and only crystals of alkaline material remains in the rock. Okay, waves का पानी hit हुआ, waves के अंदर जो soluble materials थे वो rock के अंदर के crack में जाके mix हो गए. ठीक है, अब next day धूप आया, water gets evaporated. तो water gets evaporated पर उसके अंदर के जो soluble particles थे वो रह जाते हैं. That becomes crystal. The crystals of alkaline materials remain in the rocks. Crystal occupy more space. Now they need more space. This causes tension in the rock, and as we know, once tension is being created, there is crack in the rock and then rock breaks. Holes are formed in the rocks. It looks like a honeycomb. एंड देखो फिर वैसा फिगर 3.3 में आप देख सकते हो कि जो पानी है वो सब उड़ जाता है एंड अल्कलाइन मटीरियल जो क्रिस्टल मटीरियल है वो रह जाता है. एंड दिस लीड्स टू फॉर्मेशन ऑफ होल्स एंड दे लुक लाइक हनी कोम. सो दिस वाज बिकॉज ऑफ क्रिस्टल ग्रोथ. दैट दिस इज़ नोन कि कैसे क्रिस्टल ग्रो होता है बराबर. Now coming to next part, release of pressure. Now how does pressure is released? It is not that tension is created in the rocks only because of temperature, freezing of water or crystallization. अभी तक हम लोग ने इतना ही देखा राइट. टेंशन कब कब फॉर्म होता है? इफ़ देर इज़ टेम्परेचर था तो टेंशन फॉर्म हुआ, या इफ़ देर इज़ फ्रीजिंग ऑफ वाटर तो टेम्परेचर फॉर्म हुआ, या बिकॉज ऑफ क्रिस्टलाइजेशन टेम्परेचर फॉर्म हुआ. बट देर आर मेनी मोर रीजन्स बिकॉज ऑफ विच tension is created. The outer layer of the rock exerts pressure on the inner or lower layers. अभी जो outer layer है ना, it pressurizes the inner layer or the inside layer. When this pressure ceases to exist, the lower or inner layer gets freed from the pressure, and this also leads to weathering. Okay, तब क्या होता है स्टूडेंट्स कि ये जब प्रेशर ख़त्म हो जाता है, when it has reached to end, okay, the lower or inner part get freed from the pressure. तो जो अंदर का inner part था वो free हो जाता है pressure से, right? And that is also one way because of which weathering takes place. Water. Some areas experience more rainfall than others, right? Some areas, particular areas में there are more rainfall, while particular less area में there are less rainfall. In such areas, soaking of rock water also causes weathering of some rocks like sandstone, conglomerate. Okay, so क्या होता है, वाटर सोक होता है बराबर ना. वाटर जहाँ पे ज़्यादा है तो इट गेट्स डिपॉजिटेड इन द रॉक एंड बिकॉज ऑफ विच वेदरिंग टेक्स प्लेस. ओके, नाउ स्टूडेंट्स, conglomerate is also one type of rock which have holes in it because of tension. These rocks are formed because of pressure on the agglomeration of sand particles. Mud also makes sand particles come together. When water penetrates such rocks, the particle gets loose and separate from the main rock. This is called as granular weathering. Now what happens students, granular weathering में जो mud होता है ना, जो मिट्टी होती है, what does they do, they make sand particles come together. जो sand के छोटे छोटे particles है, it makes a reason कि वो लोग साथ में आ जाते हैं. Now when water penetrates such rocks, okay, जब वाटर ऐसे रॉक्स में घुसता है, द पार्टिकल गेट्स लूज एंड सेपरेट फ्रॉम द मेन रॉक. ओके, वाई? बिकॉज वाटर हैज एंटर्ड इनटू दैट रॉक. तो जो सैंड पार्टिकल्स है वो लूज हो जाते हैं एंड फिर वो लूज होके बाहर निकलते हैं. एंड दिस इज कॉल्ड एज ग्रैन्युअल वेदरिंग. कि इसको बोलते हैं ग्रैन्युअल वेदरिंग. यू कैन सी इट इन द पिक्चर इफ यू विल गेट अ क्लियर आइडिया. Sometimes both temperature and water are responsible for weathering, right? हम लोग ने अभी पहले देखा, why? Because of tension. Because of temperature, tension has been created and then there are gaps or cracks in rocks and weathering takes place. Also, water is one of the main reason. Difference in temperature causes contraction and expansion, widening the joints or the cracks in the rock. Okay, कि टेम्परेचर में जब डिफरेंस होता है ना तो कॉन्ट्रैक्शन या एक्सपांशन होता है, हम लोग ने देखा पहले, राइट? एंड दैट इज़ वाई द रीज़न ऑफ वेदरिंग. Water accumulates in such wide joints and big blocks of rocks separate from each other and this is called block disintegration. अब क्या होता है, हम लोग ने देखा कि जब रॉक्स का मतलब रॉक्स के अंदर जब पानी घुस जाता है या कोई भी पार्टिकल घुस जाता है एंड जब टेम्परेचर में चेंजेस होते हैं, सो व्हेन देयर इज चेंजेस इन टेम्परेचर, एक्सपांशन एंड कॉन्ट्रैक्शन टेक्स प्लेस. ऑल्सो द वाटर गेट accumulates in such big blocks, right? There are wide joints, wide blocks and water gets accumulated in such blocks and then it gets separates. Now the rock gets separates. बराबर ना, देखो एक छोटा सा गैप है रॉक में, बराबर, और आप उसमें इतना सारा पानी भर रहे हो तो प्रेशर आएगा रॉक पे, तब रॉक एक्सपांड होएगा एंड वंस रॉक एक्सपांड्स इट गेट्स ब्रेक. दिस इज कॉल्ड ब्लॉक disintegration. Try this chemical weathering. Now we will see chemical weathering. You have to try a small experiment. Take a glass of water and put a piece of chalk in it. Okay, that you have to take a glass of water and then you have to add chalk in it. On the next day, observe what has happened to it and answer the following question. Okay, so next day you just have to observe that glass of water in which you have kept the chalk. Did the color of the water change? You have to make sure, you have to see or notice that whether there was a change in the water color. What happened to the chalk? Was the chalk still there? Okay. Second one, wrap few iron nails in a wet clothes. Iron nails पता है ना सबको, खिल्ली होती है ना. You have to wrap it in the wet cloth. Observe it. Open the cloth after 2 days. आपको 2 दिन के बाद उसको ओपन करना है. Observe what has happened and answer the following question and then you have to answer following question. Are there any stains on the cloth? Okay, do you find any stains on the cloth after 2 days? Which color are they? And yes, if you find any stains, what are the color of those stains? What should be the reason for the stains? Okay, कि stains आने का reason क्या हो सकता है? Geographical explanation. Water plays an important role in chemical weathering. Okay, ये जो chemical weathering अभी हम लोग learn करने वाले हैं, water plays an important role. Rock is a mixture of many minerals, right? That rock के अंदर there are many minerals present. Water is a universal solvent. Many things get dissolved easily in water. The solubility increases because the matter has dissolved in water, right? We know that water is a universal solvent कि आप कोई भी like most of the चीज़ें पानी में dissolve हो जाती है and because of which उसका जो solubility होता है वो increase हो जाता है and those minerals or those materials which do not dissolve easily in water get dissolved in such solutions. In areas that receive heavy rainfall, chemical weathering occur in the following way. Okay, so the places जहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा बारिश आता है वहाँ पे केमिकल रिएक्शन कैसे टेक प्लेस करता है वो हम लोग देखेंगे. Carbonation. Okay, now we are going to learn what is carbonation. The rainwater travels through the atmosphere before reaching the ground. बराबर, ऊपर से आता है बारिश तो वो पहले एटमॉस्फियर से गुजर के फिर ग्राउंड पे आता है. बराबर स्टूडेंट. Carbon dioxide in the air gets mixed in the water in the process. अब जब वो ऊपर से आ रहा है तो जो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड प्रेजेंट है एयर में वो पानी के साथ मिक्स हो जाता है. तो अब तक हम लोग ने क्या देखा, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड विच इज़ CO2 is getting mixed with the rainwater which is H2O. Dilute carbonic acid gets formed now because of which carbonic acid is formed. What is carbonic acid students? H2CO3. बेसिक इक्वेशन है, आप सभी को आना चाहिए राइट. H2 है, C एक ही है, O2 and plus 1 to 3. H2CO3 which is dilute carbonic acid is formed. कब? When carbon dioxide gets mixed with water. Materials like limestone get easily dissolved in such acids. Okay, तो हम लोग ने ऊपर देखा राइट कि जो मटीरियल्स पानी में इजीली डिज़ोल्व नहीं होते हैं वो ये सॉल्वेंट में या ये केमिकल रिएक्शन में इजीली dissolve हो जाते हैं. The reaction is given below which I have explained you. Example, water plus carbon dioxide forms carbonic acid. Okay, जो हम लोग ने देखा H2O plus CO2 will give you H2CO3. Simple. Coming to the next part, solution. Some minerals in the rock get dissolved in water. Limestone is formed due to chemical precipitation between water and alkalis. Okay, कि जो minerals होते हैं वो easily water में dissolve हो जाता है. And one such reaction or one such formation is of limestone. Okay, कि limestone भी जो chemical के precipitation से form हो जाता है. At Vadgaon Darya in Ahmednagar district, limestone gets precipitated chemically. That is, it undergoes chemical weathering again. Similarly, because of solution, alkalis in the rock dissolve and make them brittle. Okay, बिकॉज ऑफ ऑल ऑफ दीज सॉल्यूशंस जो फॉर्म होते हैं ना, जो अल्कलीस होते हैं ना, वो आराम से डिज़ोल्व हो जाते हैं. जो कौन सा सॉल्यूशन जो अभी हम लोग ने देखा, तो ऑल ऑफ दीज सॉल्यूशंस में अल्कलीस होते हैं ना, दैट गेट्स डिज़ोल्व इजीली एंड दैट इज़ व्हाई इट मेक्स देम ब्रिटल. उसको वो शाइनी बनाता है. नाउ कमिंग टूवर्ड्स ऑक्सीडेशन. This process occurs in the rocks which have iron present in them. Okay, तो जो rocks में iron present होता है उसमें oxidation takes place. The iron in the rock comes in contact with water and chemical reaction takes place between iron and oxygen. Okay, hence a reddish colored layer forms on the rock and this is called as rust. कि जो iron है it gets when it comes in contact with water, तो जो water का oxygen है ना उसके through उनका chemical reaction takes place and that is why rust is formed. Okay, अभी rust आप लोग ने mostly देखा होगा. अगर आपके घर पे कोई खीला है या कोई जूना पुराना नल है जिसको आप लोग you have not been using them since years, so there is formation of rust जो red color का form होता है. When you keep nails in the wet clothes you must have noticed a similar thing. कि जो आपको पहले बोला है ना काम करने को, एक ऊपर पहले के पेज पे हम लोग ने देखा ना, you guys were given an activity in which you have to put nails in the rock, so you will see that red color, so that is called as rust. Similar process occurs in rock in area with high rainfall. Okay, so in places where there is high rainfall such situations take place, the same as we have seen in the example of nails. You can see in figure 3.1d to get a clear idea of what we are talking about. There are many more processes involved in chemical weathering besides the one mentioned above. Okay, कि यहाँ पे जो mention किया है, leaving them also there are many chemical reactions which take place. Daily life examples include moistening of table salt in rainy season, or apple slices turning brown, etc. So all of these are also daily life examples. Now biological weathering. Biological weathering क्या होता है? We will see. Besides mechanical and chemical weathering, biological factors are also responsible for weathering of rocks. Okay, that even biological factors takes place because of it is an important part because of which weathering of rocks takes place. Have you visited any fort? Have you seen trees growing on their minarets? ओके, अभी आप लोग ने कभी भी देखा होगा दो ब्रिक, अभी बारिश के सीज़न में तो मोस्टली होता है दैट यू सी small what do you call small trees, not trees, small saplings growing between the buildings, right? Buildings के बीच में small sapling grow होता है. You also must have seen pieces of rocks getting separated because of the roots of trees. के जो जूना पुराना ट्री होता है ना, उसके roots के वजह से वहाँ पे जो rocks होते हैं वो separate हो जाते हैं. As the roots get bigger, they create tension in the rocks and they start breaking. Okay, that as the roots keeps on growing, tension is being formed. Why tension? मतलब क्या? It gets stretched, and that is the main reason they break. Ants make large ant hills. Rats, mice, rabbits, and other worms and insects make burrows in the ground. These animals are called burrowing animals, right? कि all of these they make small holes in the ground. आप लोगों ने देखा होगा छोटे छोटे होल बनते and they go inside. So all of these animals are called burrowing animals. Because of their activity, weathering of rock occurs. Okay, that because of them weathering takes place. Why because of them weathering takes place? Because they are making changes on the layer, right? Besides this, algae, moss, lichen, other flora, etc. grow in the rocks. Yeah, because of them only. Because ये सारी चीज़ों को ground में place मिल जाती है grow होने के लिए. And that is why they grow. They also help in weathering. Okay, coming to the next page. Mass movements, mass wasting. The weathered rock materials start moving along the slopes due to gravity and accumulate near the foothills of gentle slopes. बराबर कि now there are rocks formed, now there are cracks formed in the rocks and they tend to move to down steps. अभी समझो माउंटेन है, बराबर माउंटेन के ऊपर जो रॉक्स है उनमें क्रैक्स फॉर्म हो गया है, तो व्हाट दे विल डू, दे विल टेंड टू मूव डाउनवर्ड्स, राइट? व्हाई? बिकॉज माउंटेन इज़ लाइक अ स्लोप, तो ऊपर तो वो नहीं रहेगा, राइट? तो वो गिर के नीचे गैदर होएगा, माउंटेन का जो बेस है उस पर गैदर होगा. This process has been happening for years. The weathered particles from a conical heap at the foothills, when weathered particles move down due to gravity alone, the process is called mass movements. Okay, कि जो weathered particles है, जो weathered particles है, rock के जो particles है, materials है, जब वो नीचे अकेले move करते हैं, नीचे gathered हो जाते हैं because of gravity, they come downstairs. Sorry. And that is called as mass movements, कि इसको हम लोग बोलते हैं mass movements. It occurs in two ways. It is rapid on steeper slopes. बराबर कि जो steep slopes होते हैं, deep slopes होते हैं, इसमें ये process rapid है, right? Because नीचे है ना, तो वो नीचे गिरना ही है, वो क्या धीरे धीरे नहीं गिरेगा, वो फटाक से गिर जाएगा. while it is slower on gentle slopes. Slower on gentle slope. Gentle is like a plain slope, okay? तो प्लेन स्लोप पे वो स्लोअर है बिकॉज उस पर कोई ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स नहीं है या कोई स्लोप नहीं है कि वो नीचे गिरेगा. Understood, student? Now rapid mass movements. Rock falls, landslides, land subsidence occurs rapidly. Their effects are very destructive. The probability of these events is more in the region having humid climates and steeper slopes. बरोबर ना. Landslides, land subsides and rock falls आप लोग ने देखा होगा. This occurs mostly during winter season. Why? Because रॉक्स के अंदर ऑलरेडी क्रैक्स भर जाते हैं, उसमें पानी भर जाता है एंड बिकॉज ऑफ कंटिन्यूस रेनफॉल दे टेंड टू मूव एंड दे टेंड टू फॉल या वो अचानक नीचे गिर जाते हैं. यू माइट हैव नोटिस अभी रिसेंट 2020 के रेनफॉल में इफ़ यू हैव नोटिस देयर वाज दिस ह्यूज लैंडस्लाइड्स ऑन द मलाड एंड कांदिवली वाला जो हाईवे है वहाँ पे ये हुआ था. तो दीज लैंडस्लाइड्स landfalls are very common during rainy season. A thick layer of weathered material forms on the slope. When it rains in such areas, the rainwater penetrates the weathered material and their weight increases. बराबर कि ये जो materials है वो एक form हो जाते हैं rock पे and when it is raining the water gets into these materials and because of which the weight of that material increases. एक तो पहले खुद का ही वजन उसमें पानी भी घुस गया तो पानी एंड खुद के मटेरियल का वजन के वजह से it gets heavy. The weathered materials move very rapidly and come down to the slope. Example, the mudslide at Malim village of Pune district. Sometimes the weathered materials do not move downwards but sink in situ where they are. This is called as slumping. Okay, कि क्या होता है कभी कभी अगर वो नीचे नहीं आ जाते दिस मटीरियल्स इफ़ दे डोंट कम डाउनवर्ड्स दे गेट सिंक इनटू द एरिया जहाँ पे वो है. ओके तो जो एरिया है वहाँ पे अगर कुछ खड्डा बिड्डा होगा तो वो वहाँ पे अटक जाता है, वहाँ पे सिंक हो जाता है एंड दैट इज़ कॉल्ड एज slumping. You can see the picture figure 3.10 to get a clear idea. Such rapid mass movements may also occurs because of earthquake. ये तो हम लोग ने देखा that because of rainy season it occurs but it can also occur because of earthquake. Slower mass movement. Now this was rapid mass movement हम लोग ने देखा right that the particles move rapidly downwards. Now we will see the slower mass movements. In areas with dry climates and gentler slopes, mass movement occurs slowly. Now you can say कि मैम आपने बोला बारिश के उसमें होता है तो वो places जहाँ पे बारिश होती नहीं है वहाँ पे क्या कभी landslides नहीं होता? नहीं स्टूडेंट्स, वहाँ पे भी लैंडस्लाइड्स होता है बट इट अकर्स वेरी स्लोली. Such creep is a common phenomena in such areas. Soil creep is a common phenomena in such areas. In periglacial region along the slopes, small layers of soil accumulates because of the movement of soil and this is called as solifluction. Okay, तो solifluction क्या होता है students? When all of these particles they get accumulate because of movement of soil. कि जब soil का movement होता है तो all of these particles they get accumulate, वो collect हो जाते हैं and उसको बोलते हैं solifluction. Erosion. Now what do you mean by erosion? Like weathering and mass movements, erosion is also an external process. Okay, since all of these are external process, even erosion is an external process. Erosion occurs through various agents. Wind, running water, glaciers, sea water and groundwater causes erosion. Okay, so there are many factors because of which erosion takes place. It can be because of wind, it can be because of running water, because of glaciers, etc. We will study these agents of erosion and the landforms produced by them in the next session. तो हम लोग ने next session में देखा है, right, that because of what snowfall occurs, or because of what frost occurs, or because of which dew occurs, ये सब हम लोग ने next chapter में देखा है, right? So I hope students you have understood this chapter. This was a very easy chapter which gives you an idea of day-to-day life, that how there is changes and rocks happening in our day-to-day life. Now coming towards the exercise part, student. Okay students, so coming towards exercise, all the questions on page number 29 including sub question 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 would be your homework. If the chapter is understood to you, it would be very easy for you all to find these answers. Yeah guys, that was it for today's session. We'll see you all in the next. Till then, bye bye and take care. Bye.